What's up, guys? Listen, I'm looking at the forum, and I thought maybe I'd put that little letter that I had recently got from one of my students, and he happens to be the highest ranking student that I've ever trained in martial arts, and the letter was quite encouraging, and I never doubted what it was that he would accomplish. And he was one of my most difficult students. Here's what I mean to say. I'm not quite a bit older than he is, but I'm a little bit older than he is. And a lot of the same stupidities and things, or the decisions that he would have made, they were different. We were two different people. But jumping into some of the decisions sometimes, especially as a younger person, I saw a lot of myself. And oftentimes, one of the things that encourages me as an instructor is when I see men, not particularly young people. That's all I've really been training here lately, is really younger people. And I mean like children. But what I mean to say is, when we see a development, oftentimes as leaders, we want to be as encouraging as we possibly can, and sometimes that kind of comes out with a hammer fist. We don't want to do that. What we want to do is give folks the benefit of the doubt. We see a young man that's coming up, very, very skilled. Maybe not started out that way, but over time, the development will show a skill level not simply to do combat, but also an ability to teach when they're actually teaching. And so what we want to do as instructors is we want to give that student instructor, we want to give them a program. We want to give them a function that they kind of lead on their own. Obviously, as lead instructor, we're going to say these are some of the things that I expect. This is some of the things I want you to do. And along the way, that student instructor will develop kind of his own self. But what happens sometimes is we find ourselves looking at ourselves for giving a responsibility to someone that we care about, we know has the capacity. They are remarkable. But their level of maturity sometimes, their focus sometimes, like ADHD, it's just off somewhere. Something's taking place. You know, in some cases, it could be personal life. It could just be some hardship, whatever. Here's what I want to say. Sometimes we have to look at ourselves as the lead instructor and realize I am not fulfilling my responsibilities. I am not sticking to my words. There are things that I have failed in. And as a result, I can't simply look at the student instructor as being the one who has made poor decisions. Because, in effect, it would be my poor decision making that has given a responsibility to somebody who has all the right components, but something in the capacity to fulfill the engagement is lacking in commitment. And sometimes I could look at myself and see that. I could look at myself and say, here's somebody that I give a responsibility to, and they weren't fully committed. So what I want to say is that all instructors across the board, when we put ourselves out there on the front line, there are commitments that we must fulfill. Okay? If I make an agreement with somebody, and then they turn around somewhere in their agreement with me, and they don't fulfill that agreement as it was previously established, is that a breach in contract to the sense to where I can now say, well, then I don't have to fulfill my engagement, my commitment? I guess technically I could do that. But then I feel like, okay, I am breaking down my integrity because this man won't fulfill his engagement and commitment. So therefore, in that sense, if I want to keep integrity, then in my contractual agreement, I'm going to fulfill it. I'm going to stay committed, no matter what contract was broken, what commitment was broken from the man that established an agreement with me. You see, that's how we hold ourselves accountable. We don't. In most senses, it's fight or flight. And sometimes you got to stand there, and you got to take what it is that's being dealt in hopes that other people around you and the individual that broke their contractual agreement with you see that integrity is something that you stand upon. In hopes that when they see that they also develop based on what it is that they can see, not simply your words. We can tell somebody all day long. I started out talking about sometimes with our children, we have the tendency to, it's like kind of like raising children. I can tell a child I love them all day long, but the reality is, if all they do is they see a constant focus and drive on things that have nothing to do with them, or there is some sort of a ADHD situation taking place. Maybe it's my phone, maybe it's movies, maybe it's not home, maybe it's whatever it is. My words, they don't have, there's no value in the word. Jesus said, don't love in word, but love in deed, love in action. Okay? So hopefully, what it is that happens is the man see, even the men that break their contractual agreements, the men that break the commitment, they see that this person is still going to stay committed. Not simply because he wants to keep his integrity intact, but primarily because he wants the individual that broke the contractual agreement to see how committed he is. But here's where it's difficult. If I, too, am failing a multiple of people because I am not committed in making sure that this individual is doing everything that they say they were going to do, by either stepping up to the plate and working with them, or saying, listen, I now have to take lead, I have to hold myself accountable in that. I have to say, I am at fault, and not add a but to it. Just simply say, I have failed, and I'm not willing that I should fail anymore. And so what I mean to say with the guy that wrote the letter to me, here's a guy that was a lot like that. There were times he made a lot of really stupid decisions and simply couldn't be trusted to handle certain responsibilities. And as a result, there were guys that were in training and things of this nature, and he wasn't there to make sure that they were doing what they were supposed to do and not doing what they were not supposed to do. And people kind of got busted up a little bit and things like that, maybe got in trouble. As time would go on, we would see that this younger man would start to mature. And now what we see is a growth of a school that was started almost 16 years ago. Okay? And it is now writing and producing, I'm just going to have to say, some of the best competitors in the world. I'm going to just say that. But it was from this guy's lack of focus where he saw something of focus in those of us that were trying to lead and be proficient. I'm not saying that we're all perfect, because we're not. Okay? But everybody has to be held accountable in this situation. Okay, everybody. Starting from the highest to the lowest. Okay? Because we have others that are engaged. We have others that are under the same roof. Okay? And it's like the church. Oftentimes you go to the church house, there's people in the church house. And that is the greatest place for the enemy to sit and manipulate the minds of those that aren't saved yet, but also those who are saved, in creating some sort of a distraction so that they can't get to those that are not saved. You see, our dojos are like that. We have people that are coming in, and that's where our commitments have to be seen, not just talked about. They have to be seen, what it is that we're actively engaged in. And if I cannot, I need to tell somebody. I need to make sure that people understand. I'm trying and doing everything that I can, but here are the situations in my life right now. And if I'm simply just being immature because I've got other things going on in life, there's nothing wrong with stepping up to the plate and saying, listen, I can't handle the responsibility. Or simply saying, I'm not committed to that responsibility. But stepping up to the plate at some point in time and saying, yeah, I'll do that, and kind of feeling like maybe somebody coerced me into doing these things, X, Y, Z, whatever that is. But failing to do any of those things, I have to hold myself accountable. Okay? So, let me say it like this. It's kind of like the video a few minutes ago. I get the point. We saw the military guys and we heard T.D. Jakes speaking. I think that guy is a fill in the blank. Okay? If I have a toothpick and I have an old poopy diaper and I put the toothpick into the poop and then I pull the toothpick out and I take the clean side of the diaper and I kind of wipe all the poop off. Okay? And then I've got this big old glass full of lemonade in this cup that Mr. Scott bought me. Okay? Little promotion there. If I take that poopy toothpick and I drop it in this big old glass of lemonade and I hand it to somebody and say, hey, you want a drink? And then they say no. And I say, why? It can't all be bad. Some of it's got to be good, right? Are you going to drink it? He's probably not going to drink it. And here's an even bigger flaw. Here's an even bigger sin. Here's an even bigger problem. Some of us know what we put in the lemonade. And we didn't tell nobody when we offered them a drink. Now, you do with that what you will. I'm sure that I'm going to find a lot of criticism. And I'm okay with that. I hope that what I said was constructive. And I hope that everybody understands that I say what I say in love. If I'm a doctor and you come to me and you've got cancer, do you want me to beat around the tush and tell you you got, I don't know, a long life ahead of you? Or do you want me to be honest with you and tell you that these are the amount of days you have left so that you can get underway what it is that takes place in the grieving process? I'm okay. You can beat me up with your words, send me hate mail. That's fine. But this thing is about integrity. If it's not about integrity, then you're in the wrong place. Get out. I say that in love. I don't say that in hate. You can leave and come back anytime. If you want to stay, hold yourself accountable. Step up to the plate. Make the right decision. There's integrity in that. Os.